Welcome to Go Legal Yourself podcast, episode 44, title, Predictable Success. Welcome to the Go Legal Yourself podcast. This show is about knowing the legal life cycle of your business. I'm your host, Attorney Kelly Bagler, the Queen of Business Law. You can interact with us on social media with Go Legal Yourself, and do find us on the web at golegalyourself.com. Knowledge is power, and at Go Legal Yourself, we pride ourselves on bringing you knowledge from the best experts in the industry who know business inside out. Get ready for a life-changing show as we empower all business owners and entrepreneurs to dare to become successful. Today is that show where we interview experts in the business who can help you become successful. I'm joined today by Susie Carder. She is a profit coach, a public speaker, and a bestseller author of Living Proof. Welcome, Susie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for sharing your time and wisdom with us and everything you're doing for the industry.
Well, thank you very much. It truly is a pleasure. I know that you are funny in general, but we always do ask our guests to share either an attorney joke with us or one of their favorite jokes. Would you like to share that now, or should we add that later on to our show notes?
I think we need to add it on later, so I can come up with a juicy one.
There you go. Keep the audience hanging, right? So you have to go. Exactly. You have to go to the show notes, which means you'll have to download our app. By the way, Susie, did you know our app is on, you can get the app from your app stores. You can also listen to it from Spotify, and it's also on Google Play. And I believe very shortly you'll be able to ask Alexa, can you play Go Legal Yourself?
That's awesome.
That's pretty exciting.
So, well, thanks for making legal fun, because legal, in my history of dealing with attorneys, one, they never look like you, and two, it's not fun. So.
It's not. No, it's not. Thank you very much. I'm trying to make legal business owner's friend. I know it's an oxymoron. It doesn't go together at all, right? But I'm really trying to make it understandable for them, where they can at least know the pitfalls of, running a business. And
well, you have to have a good attorney. So at least you're funny and talented and smart and helping the community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And I didn't pay you to say that. So.
She did not.
just for the record. Well, Susie, I'm really, really excited about this interview because I know a little bit about your background and what a story it is. Would you please grace us all and share your background with us?
Sure. So I started, my trade is I'm a hairdresser. That was my vocation. That was my education. I grew up with 9 brothers and sisters: Bobby, Ronnie, Stevie, Terry, Joni, Shelley, Susie, Kelly, Debbie. Nice, good Catholic family.
Nice.
We had 1,200 square feet. We had 6 girls and 1 bathroom.
Oh, no. I'm not even going to ask you how you got through that one.
I don't even know. I go back and look at that house now, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, where did we all fit? It's tiny, tiny, tiny. So early on, about having 6 girls, my dad's philosophy was not go get an education. It was go get a job, go get a husband. So I was really good at that. I did both. So my education, I went to vocational school, and the trade was hairdressing. And being a hairdresser, I learned to do the business side of being the hairdresser. So I made $250,000 a year, standing behind the chair 3 days a week. And what that means is most hairdressers make less than $30,000 a year.
Right, exactly. I was just going to say, wow.
Yeah, so that was my first foray into business. And that really was because I did go find a husband, but ended up divorcing that husband. But I had 2 little kids to provide for.
Right.
So I was a single mom. My kids were 6 months and 18 months old when we divorced. So I had to figure out how to make money to take care of my family. And I knew I did not want to live the legacy of what I grew up inside of. Mm-hmm. So I knew I was only going to have 2 kids versus having any more kids. That was the first one. So made a great living as a hairdresser, and then I got bored, because you can only make so much money.
Right.
And there was a calling, God knocking on the, the door of opportunity saying there's something bigger for you. I just didn't know what that was.
I'm a huge believer in that, Susie. Yeah. Honestly, I really am. When, like you said earlier, I'm not your traditional attorney. Mm-hmm. A couple of years ago, I felt that knocking. I felt there was more to hourly work.
Yes.
And that's when I decided to go on this path, and it's obviously evolved into what it is now. But I completely understand that, and I'm sure that our listeners also have that feeling, because our listeners out there, Susie, they really are entrepreneurs. They're mm-hmm. people that are thinking of going into business. There are people that are actually running a business, but they're stuck. And you have to answer that call, that knocking.
Yeah. Well, and how many times did you ignore the knock and then somebody else does it, and you're like, oh, that was my idea. Yeah. Oh, I was going to do that. That's God knocking, and then he passed you by.
There you go. Right.
So, I started working with a distributor, selling shampoos and conditioners. Still had my hairdressing business, but was doing that part-time because they couldn't pay me what I was making as a hairdresser. And realized that most people didn't know how to run the business of business. They didn't know how to attract a clientele. They didn't know how to do promotions. They didn't know how to sell retail. So in order to build my territory, I started doing these little cluster classes to teach them. And I really figured out I loved it. Mm-hmm. And then I had to figure out how do I get paid to do that? Because that was another thing. I had to figure out how do you make money at this? Because I really like it. And then my clients would say, oh, God, I love what you do. Do you have a book? I'm like, no, I don't have a book. I'm just teaching you No, they're like, oh, if you had a book, we would buy it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to write a book. So I wrote a book, and then after you write a book, you got to sell a book, which I had no idea how to sell a book, right? So,
who does?
Right. Then
I had no idea either.
It's such a big undertaking. That was the best and worst day of my life when it was published, right?
Right.
The truck came and delivered 2,000 books to my doorstep. And they, it was one of those big trucks, and they're like, and they put the pallets on my driveway and then left. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do with these books? That's a lot of them. 2,000 didn't seem like a lot when I was ordering them, but when they show up in your driveway and then you got to transfer them all to your garage. And I wasn't going to be a statistic that the author that has all the books in the garage, right? I'm like, I am going to get rid of these. So then people said, oh my God, love the book. Hate to read. You have it on audio. I'm like, no, I just wanted to teach you how to do this, right? So I'm like, okay. So I will go do it on audio. And so every product that I created, from training and development, came from my clients saying, oh my gosh, love that. Like I brought my systems manual to show people, because I would say you need systems. Mm-hmm. And they were thinking I meant like IT systems. I'm like, no, process and procedures, standard operating procedures. So I would bring my book, and they were like, oh my gosh, can I buy that? I'm like, it's mine from my business. They're like, we don't care. We just want it. I'm like, really? Well, how much will you pay for that?
Right.
And that was my pricing strategy back in the day. How much will you pay for that? So I grew the largest training and development company in the beauty industry by really listening to my consumer, finding the need and filling the need, finding the need and filling the need. And then we sold it 15 years later to the largest publisher in the industry.
Wow.
The same publisher, I might add, that turned me down when I went to them to publish my book. They're like, oh, no, we don't want to publish your book. So they bought it anyway for millions.
How sweet did that feel?
That felt great.
Yes.
Because they paid way more than they would have, which was amazing. So that building that and really starting from my, kitchen table and really listening to my consumer. It wasn't this grand plan. I just had that passion and got, listening to the knock and listening to the call. And then 2008 happened. I don't know if you remember 2008.
I do.
I remember it very well. I was over leveraged in real estate, right? I had lots of money in the market. Mm-hmm. And when the market crashed, I crashed. Like literally what took me 20 years to build, Kelly, was gone overnight.
Oh my goodness. I've got goosies right now, Susie. I have goosies because people, I kid you not, every other person out there that's listening to your interview right now, they are relating to you. They've probably got goosies too.
Yes.
Everything that you've just said, working from your kitchen countertop, ordering books that you didn't think, they were going to show up in droves.
Right.
And then knowing how to go out and sell. They don't know this stuff. So that's why they're listening to you. And we really appreciate your story.
Thank you. So in 2008, what felt like, it was about a 3-year process, that I lost about 10 million in assets. And I am the profit coach. I am the money coach. I am the business coach. I felt like I should know better.
Right.
I should know better. If it shouldn't happen to me. Like, who am I now? How am I going to recover from this? Who's going to take me serious now? I just lost everything. And once again, I was on the floor crying. You gotta have a second of pity party.
Right.
You can't just go through something like that and just go, I'm fine. It's great. No, it was not great.
No.
So I was on my knees, and I say God, you say whatever your higher power is, right? I was on my knees in my room bawling, just going, why? And not why me, just why? I had been a good steward. I had been a good student. I'd saved 25% of my income. I invested wisely. I followed the rules.
You worked hard.
I worked hard, right? I came from nothing, like truly nothing, and built, 10 million in assets. Mm-hmm. And technically, I didn't ever have to work again, right? That was a great feeling.
Right,
and now I'm like, oh crap, I got to work again. Like, what am I going to do? I had a non-compete in that industry. I couldn't go back into that industry. And I'm like, who's going to want to follow me or listen to me? I just lost everything that I've worked hard for. And I heard in that moment, Kelly, I will never leave you and I'll never forsake you. This will be your greatest lesson and your biggest victory. Get up. And I did not want to get up, but I knew I had to get up. I had to get up for myself. I had to get up for my children. I had to get up for my clients. And I got present to, this. And if you can rebuild this, that's truly who you are. So in that moment of disparity, in that moment of vulnerability, I had to remember that this is what I do. So get up. So I did what I tell my clients to do. I put my plan together. I really looked at what industry really lit me up again. Mm-hmm. What did I love doing, which was working with entrepreneurs. I had about 4 clients outside of the beauty industry that I was working with at the time and helping them grow their business. So I'm like, let me leverage those businesses. So I did one complete turnaround, the company that I took on. He was in the negative $300,000 a year. I worked with him for 18 months and turned it around to a positive $300,000 a year, and just followed the system, right? So
that you created?
That I created. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is, best practices in business, right? Put a plan together, follow your plan.
It sounds so easy to us, Susie. It sounds, this is exactly what you need to do, but it's not. People don't think like that.
It is if you follow the plan. Right? So are you going to work hard? Absolutely. It doesn't magically follow the sky. The hardest thing is getting up and going talking to strangers, right? Getting up and going make those contacts, charging what you're worth. That's a huge one in entrepreneurship, right? Is charging what you're worth.
It's huge.
We're afraid to charge what we're worth. People want to discount our services all the time. And we're like, well, okay, I'll just take some money versus no money. And, which is just shoot yourself in the foot.
Right.
Then you're booked to capacity and still not making enough money, right?
I'm so glad you touched upon that, because I've just published my second book, and that's called Go Own Yourself. Mm-hmm. And I got the idea from that when I was interviewing some of my successful clients. Like, how did you do it? What did you do? And also, I didn't realize this, but this is exactly what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. Sure, we have passion, right? You have to have passion about something. Otherwise, it's a job.
Yes.
So you start off with passion, but passion alone can't get you food on the table. It can't put money in your pocket unless you know how to own it. Yes. Right? So you go out there and you do business with confidence, and people want to do business with people that are confident. Yes. You look people in the eye and tell them exactly what you charge.
Yeah.
It's amazing. There's so many people that I have encountered that look away when they tell you how much they charge. And then they'll say, is it okay?
Yeah. I have a girlfriend that was looking for a relationship, and her coach said, if you're always shopping at the dog pound, you always go home with a dog. Like, oh, snap. So I say that. So when you're looking for your customer, where are you shopping for them, right? Who's your ideal client?
Right, exactly.
Find that ideal client that your fee doesn't break their bank, right? That they value what you do.
There you go.
Right.
You mentioned dogs, and my eyes are just like, oh, I don't mind shopping there. I love dogs, as do you. So, yes.
So when you look at, finding that person that values what you do, but you also need a group of people, whether they're mentors, right? Whether they're business coaches. I'm a business coach, and a lot of what I do is help people put their plan together in sales, marketing, operations, and finance. So we put the plan together and then holding them accountable to that plan to make sure that plan lives on.
Right.
I just had a call with a client. She's like, okay, I really want to make sure that my plan is okay. And I'm like, Renee, your plan's fine. She's like, okay, what do I do next? The plan. The thing that we talked about last time is
right.
You're just afraid, and your sabotage is, let me spend time more on the plan. The plan's fine. It's complete. Now get in action. Now call those 30 people a day. Now have so many appointments a week. Now close how many people out of those appointments that you come to. It's all formula. When you understand that business is a formula, like it takes all the stress out of it to go, oh, I just wasn't in front of enough people.
Right.
Versus I'm good or bad or right or wrong or they don't like me. Who cares? Next. As an entrepreneur, we do have to build some thick skin. I'm not saying it was easy for me. Please don't hear that. I'm not preaching from a mountaintop, because I remember Paul Sharnsky was the scariest man I ever had to call. And I used to get myself so worked up.
Yes.
I used to get myself so worked up before I called him, because I was just nervous that literally I would call him, have a conversation, hang up, I have to go take a nap because it was so scary.
But you did it, though.
Right.
You did it.
But I also had a coach that helped me. It's scary. Like when you realize that, okay, take a nap and get up tomorrow and do the same thing, right? Like don't stay in bed all day. Right. That's where you want to do, is stay in bed all day.
Yes.
So the reality is, like, what's that formula for your business, right? And who's that ideal client for your business, right? So I think one of the gifts that I have is I'm willing to share my failures as much as my success. Because you don't just arrive. You just don't sell your business for millions. You just don't make millions. You fail along the way. And I don't like it. Like, I didn't like it when I was on the ground, but that was my biggest victory. Like, to be able to reaccumulate what I lost. It didn't take me, 20 years, which is great, because I didn't have 20 years.
Right.
I'm a seasoned professional. So what I lost took me 5 years to rebuild, because I knew the system of money. I knew the system of leverage. I knew business, to go, So my passion, my goal is to help my clients really do that. And as entrepreneurs, we all heard the saying that 80% of businesses go out of business in the first 5 years.
Of course they do.
Right. But the more staggering statistic is 90% of those entrepreneurs don't pay themselves. So if we're not paying ourselves, right, and we're pulling from our savings and pulling from our retirement, then we don't even own a job.
No.
Right. We are in a nonprofit business for real.
Right. Right.
And my commitment is, let's make businesses supposed to provide us with a lifestyle that a job can't. Business is supposed to provide us with an opportunity that a job can't. Right? So I love when my clients get that. I love when I can help them do that. I love when it all finally comes together. That brings my heart and soul so much joy.
Absolutely. So you are in the business of helping entrepreneurs become successful. Yeah. That's exactly what we do on the show here. What a coincidence, Susie.
I know, right?
You touched upon failures. Failure is crucial for any success. If failure doesn't occur, then you're truly touched by an angel and someone's carrying you all the way through. But what have you really learned?
Right.
It doesn't matter how many times you fail. What matters is that you do become successful. How many times are you going to become successful? It just takes once.
Well, I also realize that the bigger you play, the bigger the breakdown. So if you're not having breakdown, you're not playing big enough.
Right.
I mean, come on. You're staying comfortable in your safe zone. Like, where's the risk? So you have to be willing to risk it all to get it all.
And it all goes back to having a plan. Okay. That was one of the very first couple of episodes we did on the show, and I was talking about the importance of having a business plan. There are so many plans out there. I don't know if you want to call them plans or not, but you can get a template for 1 page or 5 pages.
Yes.
Depending on what you want to do with your business. Do you want to grow your business, right? Do you actually want to know who your target market is? Mm-hmm. And you can't sell to everyone in the world. I mean, it'd be nice if you could, but if you narrow that down and you figure out who you're selling to, that is half of the battle. Then you really need to find out whether you have enough money to sustain that plan through the first 6 months, 8 months, a year.
Right.
If you don't, you need a plan that is going to help you raise money.
Right, the funding plan.
Exactly. Business owners or entrepreneurs, let me just say that they feel that they have a plan, but when I take a look at this plan and I ask them, well, what's the goal? Well, I do want to raise money. I want to bring in investors. And this plan doesn't say anything about how much you're looking for.
Right.
What are you going to use that on? Somebody's not going to give you $500,000 just to say marketing and promotion.
Right.
What does that mean? So you really have to get technical in planning. Share with us, Susie, how do you consult with business owners regarding a plan? I mean, there's several parts to it.
Yeah, so I believe there's 2 kinds of business plan. One is a working plan, and that's the one you were mentioning where you're not looking for investors. Mm-hmm. That's just your roadmap. That's what you're going to follow, and every team member that you bring on, they follow that plan. It's more of an internal document.
Right.
And from that plan, we update that plan every year. Every month we're looking at our targets. Every quarter we're looking at our targets to make sure that we're on path. The second one is a money-raising plan. And that one really speaks to investors and what's their ROI or their return on investment. So there's 2 softwares that I like. One is Live Plan, LIVE, PLAN, and that's if you're a Mac user. And the other one is Business Plan Pro. Now, I've raised $2.8 million on that software. I'm not a professional plan writer, so I don't tout myself as that. I just help my clients put their plan together.
Right.
But that gives you examples. Like, I'm a Xerox girl. Just give me an example, I could do it. Just show me how to do it, I'll do it, right? So I'm a little Xerox girl. To be able to look at that and go, okay, how does this make sense to my industry, my market, and then put that together. And then the foundation of the plan is the financial plan. Because that's going to really say, what do I need? What do I have to charge, right, in order to be profitable? And what do I want to charge and add profit into it? Most business owners don't plan for profit. They just are planning to scrape by. I'm not committed that we scrape by. I'm committed that you get paid what you're worth, your team gets paid what they're worth, so what do we need to do to make that happen?
Right.
And I'm not saying you come out of the gate and you get to make $200,000 a year. We have to be responsible. That could be possible. We could put that plan together. But let's be responsible, fiscally responsible, and look at the growth of the organization. What do we need to do every week, every month, every quarter, every year to make those numbers happen? Because the numbers don't lie. I used to hate math, didn't like math, didn't want anything to do with math, didn't do well in math because, in school you took algebra and then they were throwing letters in it. And I'm like, where am I ever going to use letters in math?
I'm sitting here nodding, Susie. Are you sure you and I are not related? Because numbers and I don't get along either. That's why I went to law school.
Right. Well, I learned to love it because I learned to realize that math is money and money is fun.
Right.
So, and I teach my clients math is money and money is fun. Because everybody thinks money's fun or the vehicle that money provides, right? Now we have some belief systems around money. That's a whole nother segment that we could go into and go in pretty juicy.
Yes, we can.
About people's limiting beliefs around the money, where that comes from, and, from generational stuff that comes into play. But when you learn, like, what is that formula that's going to have me live my dream? Because I believe that my gift from God is my life. My gift back to God is what do I do with my life?
Right.
So my responsibility is to do something great for the planet, do something great for the world. I don't just exist. Now that's a big calling on my life, but that's the thing that gets me out of bed, that I'm not just showing up, right? I'm not just existing. I'm going, how do I make the world a better place, right? How do I teach my children to make the world a better place? How do we as communities make the world a better place? Something as simple as a podcast, something as simple as a book, something as simple as speaking, something as simple as connecting with your client, right? If we all did business that way, what would our world be like? Versus I'm all in it for me.
Right.
And I'm not saying that I'm not in it for me. Of course I am. But I know that when I create structure that allows other people to win, then I eventually win.
My thoughts are exactly the same as yours, Susie. The reason I'm saying that is because, sure, I've worked for the top law firms in the world. I've really learned from some of the brilliant minds that are out there, and I could charge a pretty penny to my clients. And I know exactly what legal costs. Mm-hmm. So that was the whole reason why I decided to create Go Legal Yourself, which sells legal packages for businesses that want to start a business or businesses that want to grow their business. How do you do it where you're not throwing away thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars? Because people don't really have that many.
Right.
Thousands and thousands, especially when you're starting a business or growing a business. I do want to touch upon that part of your life when you lost everything. Mm-hmm. What did you learn from that?
The first thing I learned was that my belief in myself was bigger than myself. Like when I really got to the core of who I was. I learned that I really did have a big ego. I didn't know I had a big ego. And I had to put my ego aside. I think part of my lesson was humility and being humble again, because I had achieved so much. There was an arrogance and a righteousness that I didn't know I had. And then suddenly when the rug is pulled out from under you, you really get present to that.
Right.
I learned who my community was and who my tribe was. I believe you have to have those ride or die people. And the ride or die people are the people that you can call up in the middle of the night that are there for you when you don't even know what you need, right? So I really found out who my true friends were, mm-hmm. and who was just attracted to the image I was portraying. Because that's all it is, right? It's an image you're portraying. It's all facade, right? So I learned that God gave me a gift, and I'm really masterfully at it. And to believe in myself, so that has to be first. You have to have that conviction. And you've got to have, coaches around you. So I have a spiritual coach, I have a fitness coach, I have a business coach, I have 2 financial coaches, I have a personal development coach, or AKA therapist. Now, I'm not seeing them all the time. I'm not that cuckoo, you guys, but when I need certain things, I call upon those people, mm-hmm. To go, these are the people that have helped me get me where I need to go. So in that darkest time, I called in my financial team and went, okay, I got a level set and I've got to accumulate. What do I need to do? And what makes me an amazing teacher is that I'm a very humble student. Mm-hmm. If I respect you and I've done my due diligence and you tell me to do something, I'm going to do it. Because you're not going to pay money for experts and then don't listen. There are people that do that. There are, which they...
all the time.
I usually fire them if mm-hmm. they're my client going, you are so not coachable.
Right.
So I go, let me be coachable. Let me be a student. Let me sit back and see what did I miss. And I think, in fairness, we all missed a lot, right, in that season. Mm-hmm. There was stuff out of our control. There was also the perfect storm, mm-hmm. In the financial market and in business and in the world. And so I'm responsible for my piece of it, right? I was over leveraged. I started with that to go, okay, I'm still going to risk because I risked a lot.
Right.
I'm still going to risk, but I'm not going to over leverage.
Right.
So that's probably from a financial standpoint, the hugest shift in what I did. Is now I go, okay, I'm still going to risk. It's scarier, right? I'm a little like I put my toe in that risking versus, before young, you're just like, whoa, exactly. I'm jumping out of the airplane. Now I'm like, no, that's a little too high.
Right. Bring the plane down a little bit.
Right. Oh, the trees look like broccoli. So, it's, those are probably the biggest thing. I have amazing children. Mm-hmm. I really got to see them show up for me and to, just say that at the end of the day, we got your back. And that as a mom is probably a very amazing feeling. It's an amazing feeling.
It's an amazing feeling when you're absolutely right. The people that you thought were vested in you are nowhere to be found. Nowhere when things go south. And the ones that do show up, the ones that you can call, 12 o'clock, midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I've got a couple of those and I could call them in a heartbeat and I know that they'll be there. But it is about surrounding yourself with professionals, because it takes more than yourself. It doesn't, you can, if you have the time, you can sit there and learn everything. But then again, you wouldn't have time to run a successful business.
Right.
So again, on this show, that's why we bring experts across the field in finance, in business, in entrepreneurs that have made it and then sold their businesses. And it's always about surround yourselves with professionals, learn from the best, learn how to do things that can support yourself. And that's what it takes to really become successful. And again, in my book, Go Own Yourself, I have a chapter dedicated in there as to what does it take to become successful? Because success can mean so many different things to so many different people.
Right.
I had no idea, Susie, when I passed the bar, born and raised in England, hence the funny accent, right? I came over to California and did my schooling and what have you, and Mom wanted me home for a while. I'm not, we're not 9 siblings, but we're 7 siblings.
That's almost like 9.
And where do you fall?
There's 2 under me.
I'm the baby.
Oh.
I'm the baby. So I was gone for a while, and Mom goes, well, I want you back home. You've been gone way too long. So I went home and I took advantage of that time, and I went to law school. And then I came back out to California and did a master's in law and sat for the bar. And California is, known to be one of the hardest states to do any type of professional license, any type. But the fact that I came from a foreign jurisdiction, if you will, came here, sat for the bar, passed it, at the time, I didn't realize that was a huge accomplishment. What I had in mind was, okay, I've passed the bar, now what? It's always that, now what? Now what? Really enjoy and really learn from what just happened, because it does make you, like you said, more humble, more connected, and really passionate about what you're doing with all that knowledge. We're helping. This podcast, it's absolutely free. I don't charge a penny for this. And why? Because I passionately want to bring education to entrepreneurs that really want to learn. They want to start a business.
Right.
There's less than 14% in the entire United States that are business owners. Less than 14%. When I went out on my own, that has got to be it was a godsend. And it's got to be one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, ever, is going out on my own. And yes, it comes with ups and downs and heartaches and joys, but there's nothing like it though.
Right.
And now that you are back in the saddle, Susie, what are a couple of things, if you can name 3 things that you would say, advise a entrepreneur that's ready to start their business? They don't have anything on paper, nothing at all, but they have an idea. That's where it all starts from. What would you advise them?
Well, I've been back in the saddle for 10 years, which is good to know.
Very good to know, yes.
I think what's most important is before you jump, before you quit your day job, right? Before you risk it all to get it all, is spend the time and do the due diligence in the industry, put your business plan together, and then have your friends read the plan and poke holes in it. And I'm not looking for friends that are yes friends that just think you're great and whatever you say is great. I'm looking for that friend that will tell you the ugly truth.
Right.
That's willing to, there's a great quote by Tom Landry. He said, a coach will tell you what you don't want to hear, and a coach will show you what you don't want to see, so that you could always be the person that you know you can be. And so you want to look for friends that are willing to tell you the good news and the bad news. To go, I don't understand it, I don't get it, right? And put that financial plan together so that you aren't in a position where you have no income coming in and you've drained everything. Like if you're going to drain everything, know that going in.
Exactly.
To go, I'm going to drain my savings. I'm going to run up my credit card. I'm going to borrow from my 401k, or I'm going to drain my 401k, whatever it is, right? Or I'm going to look for investors.
Right.
It's a game changer going in versus the mental stress of, oh no, I've got to now drain my savings. Oh no, and I got to now, put my house payment on a credit card, or, whatever you have to do. And you also have to be willing to do whatever you have to do, because I've done that. I paid my credit card house payment on my credit card, when I launched the business because I just didn't have the free cash flow. So are you willing to do whatever it takes? And that's why 80% of the businesses fail in the first 5 years. They're not willing to do it, right? They didn't put a plan together and they're not willing to do whatever it takes. Like, it's too easy to give up.
Right.
I am an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. And really the real reason is nobody's the boss of me. So I don't like a boss. So I like me being my own boss, which is most of us as entrepreneurs. We're creative, we're result oriented.
We're made differently. Our genetics they're different.
Yeah.
They're completely different. You need to be a leader, but you need to be a follower too.
And a risk taker.
Definitely a risk taker.
Analyze the risk, right? So I'm a risk taker, but I analyze the risk to go, do I want to do that? Okay, I'm willing because I can see the return on investment, right? So I'm risking, but I'm also risking with calculated risk. And now it could fail, and I could, go, okay, well, that didn't work.
But what did I learn from it, right?
And that has happened many times.
Yes.
But I knew going in that could happen versus just going, woohoo, let's go on let's go on the roller coaster. Because it is a roller coaster.
It is,
it's a roller coaster of fun, and excitement, and amazingness, and scariness, and hardship, and amazingness, and scariness, and awesomeness. And
it's not a 9 to 5 roller coaster at all.
It's not, and I want to make sure that I find entrepreneurs get in that rut of just working around the clock to go put some boundaries in place.
Exactly.
We don't have boundaries, right? I'm just going to work and make it all happen. And there is a point where you get fried and you can't think and you are doing more harm than good. So I'm all for, if we're going to work hard, play hard, right? Make sure that there's something in there that balances you, whether that's friend time, whether that's your time with your significant other or your kids or, whoever, but something that gives you balance and perspective. Like, I have the most amazing insights when I'm on the massage table. Like, that 2 hours, stuff just fires in my brain that I have to get off the table and write because so much creativity comes to me then.
Mine's on the stairs doing cardio at the gym.
I wish mine was there. I'm just trying to get through the stairs in the gym.
It's amazing, Susie. Honestly, I have had some brilliant breakthroughs while focused, sweating away, and that's when all this brilliant stuff comes out.
Right.
Yes.
Or on long walks if I'm on the beach and I quiet my mind.
Find your moment, right?
Yes.
Exactly, yes.
And then genius comes.
It does.
You just got to make sure you write that genius down because that genius goes away. I will say that. I've had some good stuff and I'm like, dang it, I didn't write it down.
Well, everyone has phones nowadays, right? Quickly record into the phone. Yeah.
And make it happen.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Before we do let you go, Susie, what would be one piece of advice that you can give business owners?
Listen to the knock. Listen to your heart and soul's desire. Fear leads you to believe that where you are right now is the safe place and going forward is a risk. But the truth is, you're always at risk when you're standing still, risk of stagnating, but more importantly, risk of missing out on your own destiny.
And as far as we know, we only have this one life to live, right?
Right.
And you can create something else in your next life, but make this one count. Definitely make this one count. That is incredible story you shared with us. It's given me definitely inspiration, and I know it's given other entrepreneurs out there huge inspiration, because you do need to go through the challenges, I feel, as a business owner to really appreciate the other side.
Right.
Right, and the other side is so amazing, but in order for you to get there, you have to go through those challenges. And what we're trying to do here on the show is trying to make those challenges less challenging.
Right. So if you go to my website, susiecarder.com, and go to the blog that says, Do I Really Need a Business Plan?
Yes.
And in that, I give you a 10-point checklist of what you need to do to put your plan together. That gives you a nice foundation. I give you tools, I give you strategy so that you can put together a solid business so that when you do take the leap, yes. And I invite you to take the leap because it has been a fun, wild ride. Even in my darkest moment, I wouldn't change it. Like, I learned so much and I got so much out of it. I wish it wasn't as painful, but it was. but it also taught me who I was and who I am. I would say that's a character building opportunity.
Things always happen for a reason.
Right.
You definitely don't know at the time, but afterwards, oh, yes, that's why it happened. So how can people, and by the way, we will put your website information down on our show notes so people can go directly to your site and have a look at that checklist for business plans. And other than that, how can people get a hold of you, Susie?
So feel free to get through to me with my website, and there's a contact button you can hit if you want to talk to us or figure out what works best for you or what you need. I've got a lot of free resources there. Very similar to you, I just want to give back to my community. My community has given me so much, and I feel like it's my responsibility to give back to the community. And great tools, right? So I've got some products there that they can take advantage of. I have a new book coming out called Bootstrap to Big Time. So the entrepreneur's dream to having it all and loving it all.
That's going to be a big hit.
Yes. I'm very excited about that.
And can our audience sign up on your website?
Yep. So you can sign up for a free chapter. That gets you in the queue. So when it does come out, you'll be the first one to get it.
Fantastic. I'm going there right now after the show.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Susie, for being with us and sharing some wonderful insights.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for what you do for the industry. Thank you for being a rock star.
Likewise.
And a kick-ass attorney, I might add.
Thank you. Thank you again. Really, really appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Now, audience, you have learned a little bit more from the experts in the industry, and there's nothing holding you back. You really need to go to Susie's website, have a look at all the fantastic tools that she has provided you. And yes, they're free. They're free. And really get a hold of her and at least talk to her and find out where you are in your journey. Where do you want to go in your journey, and where do you want to end up? Really listen to the experts in the industry. And again, our app is absolutely free. If you go to your app store and download Go Legal Yourself, you will get a free ebook of Go Legal Yourself that has become a bestseller on Amazon. It's a guide for business owners on how to avoid the legal pitfalls. And remember, the only way you become successful is if you make today the day you go legal yourself. I am attorney Kelly Bagler, the queen of business law, and it's been such a pleasure being your host today. Until next time, cheers to your success.